It's my pleasure to introduce to you the two people that have helped to organize today's event and two people that we really enjoy working with as staff, Congresswoman Jackie Speier and Supervisor Carmen Chu. Thank you so much.
Good morning. How are you all? How many of you are from San Francisco? Can you raise your hands? How many of you are from San Mateo County? How many from San Jose? I heard that. How many from the East Bay? All right. Well, as you can see, this issue is something that is challenging people throughout the Bay Area, and Supervisor Chu and I have co-hosted this today because we want to try and help you. Now, first of all, I want to say thank you to the San Francisco Unified School District and to the Diane Feinstein Elementary School for allowing us the use of their facility today. I also want to thank HUD, who has assisted, Housing and Urban Development, that has assisted with educational materials. Credit counseling agencies are providing credit counseling to each and every one of you today. And I want to say a special thank you to Consumer Credit Counseling Services of San Francisco, to Jane Duong of the Mission Economic Development Agency, to Ed Donaldson of the San Francisco Housing Development Corporation, to Nabi Cheng of Asian Inc., to Shirley Hoxhausen, who is a USF predatory lending clinic and attorney at Community Legal Services of East Palo Alto. All of these people are going to be speaking to you today and providing, I think, very important information to help you get through this particular crisis. Also, Patrick Murcia from Fannie Mae. Thanks also to Assemblyman Jerry Hill, Supervisor Adrian Tissier, Fannie Chu from the Asian Realtors Association for the volunteer support, Self-Help for the Elderly for their volunteer services, and a special thank you to the banks that are represented here. I want you to put your hands together and say thank you to Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America. We also want to say thank you to the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, to San Francisco's Department of Housing and its Department of Health and Human Services. And a special thank you goes out to the staff, both for Supervisor Chu and my staff, who have worked very, very hard to make this possible for you today. Katie Farrick, Brian Perkins, Allison McGurr, Mark Nogales, Carolyn Wiley, and from your staff, Carmen?
Cami Blackstone and Katie Tang and all of my volunteers.
All right, let's say thank you to all of them. All right, so this event is scheduled for you. No one in this room should feel ashamed or somehow embarrassed because you are in the situation that you are in. The perfect storm occurred where interest rates continued to climb on adjustable rate mortgages, where the housing market started to decline, where we found that many people were placed in mortgages that frankly they couldn't afford. Not because they necessarily lied, but because there was an incentive for many of the mortgage originators to put people in mortgages that they couldn't afford because they were making money. So this perfect storm occurred because there was a lack of regulation on the federal level. There was incentives for loan originators, for banks, for financial services individuals to make these loans because people were making money. Because they were making money, they didn't much care about what was happening down the road. Now, many of the banks have come together now, recognizing that they have got to be part of the solution, and we thank B of A, Wells Fargo, and Chase for being here today. The federal government recognized that we had to do something, and we are here today to try and help you do this. Now, let me just give you a couple of examples that have come into my office. A couple, a house cleaner and a painter, saved up all their money and bought a 2-bedroom condo 3 years ago. The mortgage broker told them their payments would be fixed for 5 years at $2,400 a month. 2 years later, they get a mortgage bill that's increased by $500. They call the bank, and the bank says, well, you have an adjustable rate mortgage, and not only did it increase by $500 this month, but in 6 months it's going to increase by another $500. Now, this hardworking family put extra hours in to try and keep making the payments. But with the bad economy, they started to get less business, less paint jobs, less house cleaning jobs. Their income dropped from $5,200 a month to $3,100 a month. And now they owe $384,000 on their condo, which is worth $337,000. So this story is very, very representative of stories that we are hearing across the country. The market has created an environment where even if you're paying your monthly payments, your house is worth less now than you paid for it. So we believe very strongly that it was important to create a means by which all of you could receive some assistance, and we hope today that many of you will find relief. There are some things that have been done at a federal level that are very important for you to know about. First of all, we found some very interesting things. 61% of people that were placed in what are called subprime loans were eligible for conventional loans. Now, that means that they're paying much higher interest than they needed to be paying, but because the mortgage broker was going to make more money by placing them in a more expensive loan, that they steered them in that direction. We have new rules that have been put in place by the Fed that are now going to prevent that kind of conduct from ever happening again. So first, reform in place right now so that you will never be placed in a mortgage that is more expensive than one that you are eligible for. It's also important to point out that these subprime mortgages, about half of them are in default. So that means that many of these mortgagors put people in loans that they were not eligible to actually sustain over a long term. New rules are going to require that mortgagors actually look at the ability of someone to pay over the long term, which is also very important. We have a number of programs that you'll be hearing about today that allow for refinancing of your loans or allow for modification of your loans. And many of you are in loans right now that are eligible for these programs, so hopefully you'll get a lot of assistance today. I want to now introduce to you Carmen Chu, who's the supervisor for this particular district, to say a few words.